Good morning, guys. Welcome to this Monday, May 11th. And we had a little bit of action over the weekend. The Iranian rejected that offer. I did not see a lot of reaction on the market though, but I thought it was going to get a little bit to the downside, but recovered pretty quick. So I don't think that's an issue at this point. So after last week's pretty spectacular rally, we are still holding on to their highs, and we are still very much in a move out of the middle to the upside on both ES and Nasdaq. Other than that, we're still in earnings season. We're still getting earnings come out, though the bulk of it is done. News-wise this week, not much to drive the market today. Existing home sales at 10 today. That's about it. 3-year auction at 1. They had to pay attention to that one. So, and the reason you had to pay attention to the 3-year and the short-term auction, because they used to use those for funding the government in a much bigger way. And so we'll see if there's any interest in those shorter-term debt. I don't think they're doing that right now, but it's worth paying attention to. Tomorrow we get CPI, 10-year auction. So inflation read tomorrow. We get PPI on Wednesday, 30-year auction on Wednesday as well. Jobless claim, retail sales on Thursday, industrial production Friday. So we got a little bit spread. We got a fair amount of news spread out throughout the week, and so we have CPI on Tuesday, PPI Wednesday, retail sales Thursday. So little bit of news coming out every day of this week, except for today, really, which could potentially move the market. So that's how we get started. That's how the week starts. Looking at the and we're getting close to summer too. We're halfway through May already. Can you believe that? Halfway through May, getting June here in not not too long of this, not too distant future. So move out in the middle to the upside. Friday we extended to the upside, so we're still in stage one. We'll see what they can do today. I would just start the same way. Start from the long side. Expect some early weakness. Look to get long against that for rotations up. That's if you're looking at for a bigger trade. And be cautious on stepping in front of it as it's trading higher. So looking to buy against weakness for 74.10, 7400, 73.90, 75s, 75 to 80s, 73.65s. Now, if they start taking out the 65s and the 45s here, these two support areas, start trading below, this is going to be Thursday's day session low. I would be a lot more concerned about the pullback being more than just early weakness. If you see early weakness, I would expect it to run down maybe to the 73.65. That would be kind of the range you want to pay attention to. Below that, you have to start worrying about, okay, is it pulling back, or is it just a risk-off kind of a day going on here, or is it just a profit-taking day happening? So we'll get one of those soon enough. But right now, I would just start off on the long side, look to buy weakness, and watch these lower areas. The 73.65 is where I'm going to start shifting my bias. At that point, they're backing off too much for this to be just early weakness. The ledge down here at the 73.40s, they start retracing below 35s here. Is when they start 35. So these two areas here below Thursday's low and that session low, and that's when they start retracing these single prints on the F1. And that's if they start retracing those, I think they want to be on the short side of that move, right? So somewhere down here, 73.65, 45s. 35s, you want to start paying attention to the short side. I'm going to start already below the 65s. They can certainly probe it down here to that mode. I should probably, I'm going to drag that thing down just a little bit. Well, I got it here because this is worth paying attention to. So this is support at the 65s. I'm going to drag it down to like the 60s. And why am I doing that? Because you have the mode here from Thursday at the 60s, and I have a mode here from Wednesday at the 65s. So So this is an area of interest, a little bit of area of congestion. They were building value here for a while, and those 2 days and before they start taking this higher. So I think that's going to be a good area for them to stall, at least bounce. And if they start taking out that area and start trading below it, start thinking about pulling back a little bit further than just early weakness. And on the way up, it starts trading higher right from the get-go. Short setups against the 74.20s. That's the only thing we got to lean against, this little edge right there. And then we are in price discovery again. So I'm not going to be very aggressive on the short side. The kind of short trades I take tends to be like when you run into a retest like this, you always have a potential for smaller pullback. That kind of very tradable stuff. You just don't want to be super aggressive. If it starts going against you, you just want to be out of that trade. In the move out of the middle scenario, it start going against you. You start getting caught on the wrong side of it. You don't want to be. You can end up losing a lot. So, so that's the ES on the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq's move out of the middle from from Friday was nothing but spectacular. These guys absolutely creamed it. So they you had the Nasdaq making a big move to the upside. And they were not looking back. Oops. Click on that thing. My NASDAQ F1, there it is. So we want to be, I moved this guy up a little bit. That's why I screwed that thing up. So they have these lower support areas. And the level to pay attention to here is going to be the 29,070s. So we have a big range from Friday. And early weakness, it's going to definitely take us below 970 and this is the 29,270 and the 230. So 270 and 230s rotations up. That's the initial early weakness. On this level down here, I could not find anything I felt was obvious as an edge. I kind of left it. The next obvious edge is going to be down here at the 29,070s. So that's what they want. That's what to pay attention to. If this starts coming out, then it's pulling back too much for this to be early weakness. Now there could be a level in between. Most likely is. I just can't tell. Put my finger on where that's going to be. So if the market trades below the 230s and start retracing here, look for a potential retest failure setup in this area for a potential edge forming up. But if they pull it all the way down to the 70s here, well, at that point we are pulling back too much for this to be early weakness. On the way up, looking for shorts against the 350s and the 400s. A little bit of caution or a lot of caution as usual for those when they're moving like this. But this move to the upside from Friday, it's hard to not see them trying to pull back a little bit from it to try to shake out some weak long positions. But they are in some pretty serious territory to the upside right now. So I would stay on the long side, or at least to get started. Let's see if they're going to keep this moving, or if we're going to get a little bit of a pullback kind of a day today. The only one I see up in pretty much on the stock market right now, AMD. They had a pretty good earnings report, and last week they popped pretty good, and so they were up a little bit here in the pre-market. Other than that, most of the stuff is to the downside in the pre-market. So I would not be surprised if you get a little bit of risk off, a little bit of profit taking here, at least early on. So both of them, ES Nasdaq, are in move out of the middle to the upside. Trade on from the long side of the market to get started, and then let's see how far they can take it. And we know when to change our minds if they start pulling back more than just early weakness. So when it comes to the bonds, so far the bond market is just pretty much holding. It hasn't done a whole lot. They're holding in this range, back and forth they go. So they're trading towards the lower end of this range. So yields a little bit to the upside. Price is a bit depressed, but you can see here as to keep following this together. These days are just building value here in this area. Looks like the volume is slightly drifting lower. We had this kind of at the 115. The mode is right now at the 14-16. So the mode is slowly drifting lower in the distribution. could be important, but this is such a slow process. It's the bond market heading lower would not be surprising the way this has been drifting. But so far they're holding fairly stable in that 112 to the 118 level range. So I would just when it looks like this, the only thing you do for day trading is you trade it as a range bound market, and you pay attention. If you get the move, something like we got Friday, you have to be a little bit cautious about it, but you'll get an early indication if it moves, if there's going to be a little bit of volatility kicking in. Now we have earnings coming out this week, which potentially could move the bond market as well. CPI, PPI, retail sales all could move the bond market pretty well. So early on looking to buy against the do this. We're looking to buy against the 1305 to 6s. That's why we are trading right now with 113s down to the 1226s. We're going to get short against the 1312s, see 18 to 19s up to the 26s for rotations back down again. So that's kind of the straight the approach on the bonds, straight up range bound trading at that point. So for the day session, that's been the ticket most of the times. Just a couple of days have we seen one of those steady buying or selling kind of the trending day all day long. I mean, that's usually when you have news or you have a dealer manipulation or anything like that going on. But right now, not seeing any of that. Looking at the now we do have as I said earlier, we do have a 10 and say 10-year auction tomorrow and 30-year on Wednesday. So those could cause a little bit of dealer manipulation. So those are days you have to be a little bit cautious on the bonds if they start moving directionally. And on the cryptos, just going flopping back and forth. Hasn't been a lot of movement on those back and forth. The cryptos were up pretty good in the early trading Sunday. So they trade 24/7. So you trade the middle of the day on Sunday, they were up pretty good, and then backed off a little bit. So, but we had a little bit of action going on those. I haven't traded any of those in the overnight. I was almost tempted. So I think Solana was up pretty well. But as I said, I did not trade any of them. Just kind of been watching them. So no trades to this overnight on the cryptos. Back to the ES and the Nasdaq. So staying pretty much where we left them. So starting from the long side of the market, looking for early weakness. Right now, in the bigger picture, we're looking for a spot to cut off the buying. In other words, for that move out of the middle to stall. So far, we haven't seen it, but it's going to come one of these days. So let's be looking for it. And then we have after that happened, we're looking for the pullback, stage 2, and then we're looking for coming to balance, stage 3. So that's kind of the process which is playing out in front of us. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it there. I'll see you back at 11:30 for the next update. So good trading, and I'll see you back at 11:30. Guys, later.